What should you do if you're completely engulfed in flames? You could sprint 100 meters like a British stuntman. Anthony Britton did. Or maybe strut down a runway or get dragged behind a horse. Just like an Austrian daredevil, Joe Todling. And all these insane feats landed them in the Guinness World Records. Britton holds the record for the longest distance and fastest 100-meter sprint while on fire. Todling, on the other hand, is the world record holder for the longest duration full-body burn. He was burning for 5 minutes and 41 seconds. But the Guinness World Records officials only recognize these achievements because both men are professional stunt performers who strictly follow safety protocols. Yet these are far from the craziest records of all time, which we'll dive into in this video. So, viewer discretion is advised. If you're scared of insects or have entomophobia, close your eyes and just listen. Chinese resident Rowan Lianming is a professional beekeeper. He knows everything about these insects and has set an insane record for the longest bee beard. It's believed that in the 19th century, this act shocked audiences at carnivals, but Lianming took it a step further. The man attracted around 100,000 bees to his face, and he wasn't even afraid to talk while they swarmed him. He wore the bee beard for 53 minutes and 34 seconds. Do you think that's the wildest thing Rowan Lianming did? Not even close. On live TV, he set the record for the heaviest mantle of bees. It weighed almost 64 kilograms and consisted of approximately 637,000 bees. Official Guinness World Records judges watched from a safe distance as Lianming shook off the deadly living mantle and walked over to claim his award. Although the beekeeper insisted he wasn't in danger, doctors and an ambulance were on standby. Lianming said he just stayed calm and didn't provoke the insects. But still, carrying tens of kilograms of bees is absolute madness. And how about something even bigger? Franz Muellner isn't called the Austrian Rock for nothing. He's probably the greatest strongman in the world. Back in 2008, Muellner set the record for the heaviest weight lifted on his shoulders by holding up a 560-kilogram platform with a helicopter on it for 30 seconds. And in 2017, he even tried to break this record, holding up 661 kilograms. But because the weight wasn't stable, the record couldn't be officially recognized. However, Muellner has another equally insane achievement under his belt. He holds the world record for the longest duration restraining 4 motorcycles, pulling them in different directions. Muellner held on for 24 seconds without any injuries. Yet, many of the most unbelievable records of all time involve destruction. If you saw this guy on the street, you might think he looks familiar. And what if you saw him without a shirt? Not because he looks amazing, but because Mike O'Hearn is a bodybuilding legend, a living meme, and a Guinness World Record holder. But despite lifting weights since he was 9, his record isn't related to lifting at all. Mike O'Hearn smashed a record number of tempered glass sheets with his body. He wore American football gear to protect himself from possible injuries and started ramming through the glass. Not every obstacle gave way on the first try, but in the end, Michael successfully shattered 16 glass panels, setting a new record. O'Hearn says he always takes care of his health, has never used anabolic steroids, and his muscles are the result of hard work. Yet there's a record where someone broke through something intangible with their body. Austrian Felix Baumgartner first parachuted at the age of 16. He continued to perform increasingly complex and dangerous stunts, eventually jumping from a 260-meter bridge in West Virginia. But Felix aimed for more, or rather, higher. He decided to break a 52-year-old world record of Joe Kittinger for the highest parachute jump in freefall. And that's a mind-blowing 31 kilometers. After 5 years of extremely challenging and expensive research, Baumgartner was finally ready to give it a try. However, he encountered unexpected psychological issues. He couldn't stay in the tight pressurized suit for long. Claustrophobia attacks almost made him quit the jump. That's when the current record holder, 84-year-old Joe Kittinger, stepped in to help. He was the only person in the world who had experienced something like this, so he became Baumgartner's chief advisor when the mission began. A massive balloon as tall as the Statue of Liberty and with the capacity of 340 Olympic-sized swimming pools lifted the capsule with Baumgartner to nearly 39 kilometers. This was the stratosphere, the final boundary before outer space. Millions of people worldwide watched as Felix Baumgartner took a historic step and fell back to Earth. It only took him 34 seconds to accelerate to Mach 1, reaching the speed of sound. Baumgartner became the first person in history to break the sound barrier with his body, reaching a speed of nearly 1,358 kilometers per hour. When he safely landed, he set the world record for the highest parachute jump, along with several other related to height and fall speed. Although just 2 years later, a U.S. computer scientist, Alan Eustace, jumped from over 41 kilometers. Baumgartner made history as the first person to break the sound barrier. But to become a world record holder, you can take a much shorter jump. Jamie Pierre fell in love with skiing at the age of 10. But as one of 8 children, his parents couldn't afford to support his expensive hobby. So, right after high school, Jamie took 4 jobs at ski resorts. And when he turned 22, he competed in extreme skiing for the first time. It changed everything. For 10 years, Jamie honed his skills and began jumping off cliffs. The heights became increasingly impressive, but then Jamie had a daughter, and he decided to take fewer risks. Yet we wouldn't be talking about him if he hadn't attempted one last adventure. Jamie Pierre decided to jump off a 78-meter cliff in Wyoming. It was January 25th, 2006 when he took the leap he'd been dreaming of and flew off the cliff. However, in midair, he flipped and fell headfirst into the snow, completely burying himself down to his skis. But Jamie was a professional free skier and knew exactly what he was doing. His friends dug him out of the snow unharmed, and he was already a Guinness World Record holder for the highest cliff jump on skis. But, ironically, in 2011, Jamie died in an avalanche while snowboarding. He had 2 children by then, and as paradoxical as it may sound, the more extreme the record a person aims to set, the more attention they pay to safety rules, especially if they're breaking things with their head. J.D. Anderson looks terrifying with a bat in hand. Yet J.D. isn't holding it due to his baseball career or his job as a debt collector. He's doing so because he breaks bats over his head, back, and thighs. The key is that he only uses his own body. He also bends frying pans with his bare hands and rips thick books in half. It all started in childhood when J.D. realized that if he wanted something, he'd have to work for it. That's how he developed truly superhuman strength. And while he set several world records, J.D. entered the Guinness World Records under the nickname Iceman. In this challenge, he was the bat himself, or rather, the human battering ram. J.D. shattered a record 88 ice blocks with his head and hands on an Italian talent show. Despite his shocking strength, J.D. strictly adheres to rigorous safety rules. Otherwise, his brain would have turned into scrambled eggs by now. But in the Netherlands, there's another Iceman record holder. No offense to J.D. Anderson, but this nickname suits Wim Hof even more. What this extreme athlete does is absolute madness for most of us. Over decades, he set 26 world records, including 18 listed in the Guinness World Records. Hof climbed Mount Kilimanjaro wearing only shorts and shoes, and that's 5,895 meters above sea level, where the temperature is around -7 degrees Celsius at the summit. He set the then record for swimming 66 meters under ice and ran a half marathon barefoot in the Arctic Circle. That's 21 kilometers in the snow and sub-zero temperatures. But the most impressive of Hof's records are for the longest duration full-body contact with ice, which he broke 15 times in just 1 year. In 2013, the extreme athlete lasted 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 2 seconds in a container filled with ice. He firmly believes that such ice exercises are the only way to achieve physical and mental health, control over your body, and extraordinary success. However, doctors closely monitored Hof's condition during the record setting, before and after. I hope Shane Hultgren also regularly visits a doctor, as he is the most prolific record holder in Australia, having achieved 56 utterly insane and sometimes genuinely frightening records by 2024. Like most circus performers, he entertains audiences with juggling and unicycling, but he does it with a twist. Shane, also known as the Space Cowboy, juggles sickles, machetes, axes, and knives while riding a unicycle. But his entry into the Guinness Book of Records is for a trick involving juggling chainsaws. And that's just the beginning. With his eyes blindfolded, he saws apples in his mouth and catches crossbow arrows at record speed. The space cowboy has extinguished more blowtorches with his tongue than anyone else in the world. They say the flame temperature reached nearly 1,995 degrees Celsius, which is about a third of the temperature on the surface of the sun, and higher than the melting point of most metals. Shane Hultgren also holds the record for enduring the most motorcycles driving over his body while lying on a bed of nails. But the feat that brought him the most fame was sword swallowing. His trick, with 17 blades, was listed among the top 100 best records of all time according to the Guinness Book of Records. Later, he swallowed 27 swords, although this achievement wasn't officially registered. But the space cowboy didn't stop there. He swallowed a neon glass tube with a microphone so you could hear his heartbeat. He also swallowed a sword while underwater and inside a Faraday cage. As the cherry on top, he performed this trick with a power drill. But Shane Hultgren isn't reckless. He understands that his skills are not only terrifying, but also dangerous. That's why he urges everyone not to attempt anything similar under any circumstances. It's better to watch his show or our video, where the space cowboy, though the most outrageous, is not the most tilted record holder. If you saw an Englishman, John Evans, on the street, you probably wouldn't think he's a strongman, but he is. However, he's also creative and fun, as he chose an unexpected way to demonstrate his strength. Evans is a pro at balancing heavy loads on his head, and he has carried tons of different things: bricks, barrels, including those on fire, piles of car tires, a crate filled with hundreds of balls, 2 cement mixers, and countless other things. But he gained fame when he decided to balance a mini car on his head. Evans kept choosing increasingly strange loads each time just to set a new world record. He practically invented most of the categories for himself and aimed to achieve 100 world records by his 75th anniversary. Despite his experience, people's physical abilities usually decline at such a vulnerable age. But Evans did it. He celebrated his incredible victory with a giant crown and another world achievement for balancing it on his head. Moreover, 50 of these records are officially recognized by the Guinness Book of Records, and Evans isn't planning to stop by 2024. He had already set his 105th world record, balancing a bright floral arrangement on his head. It seems like no one could have more achievements, but this incredible top list closes with a person whose achievement is the most colossal on the planet. Because we're talking about the Guinness record for the largest number of Guinness records. Ashrita Foreman was an ordinary American guy named Keith who was captivated by the Guinness Book of Records. His adult life was also ordinary until Foreman met the Indian philosopher and spiritual leader Sri Chinmoy. Under his influence, Keith began playing sports, gaining confidence and eventually setting his first world record by performing 27,000 jumping jacks. After that, Keith changed his name to Ashrita, which means protected by Go in Sanskrit, and began his journey as a record holder. He started looking for the most interesting and bizarre achievements in the Guinness Book and training to break them. For example, Foreman set the record for walking on the world's heaviest shoes. They weighed 146.5 kilograms. Then Foreman set the record for blowing the most eggs into glasses in 1 minute. He even ran alongside a tiger for 4.8 kilometers in 35 minutes. It's impossible to list all the world records set by Foreman, as since 1979, he has accumulated 600 of them, and Ashrita still holds 530 of them. When he got tired of just achieving new feats, he decided to do it in the most famous tourist spots around the world. He balanced a pool cue on his finger near the Egyptian pyramids, stood on a Swiss ball near the Stonehenge, and jumped on it along the Great Wall of China. However, Foreman didn't just set funny records. He juggled underwater with sharks, caught arrows shot from a crossbow underwater, caught throwing knives in midair, and much more. Foreman says that striving for more is part of human nature. In the Guinness Book of Records, representatives claim that each of us is the best at something. Whether it's the most coconuts smashed around a blindfolded person, or a record number of concrete blocks broken by hand, or the longest and most spectacular basketball shot in history. And, to me, you're the best just because you're watching this channel and are probably subscribed to it.